Matthew Oliver with Oliver Unfiltered, bringing you the information of Placer County and beyond. Thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy day to plug in, get informed, get knowledgeable. So I need you to do a couple of things for me, very important. Like, follow, share. And today I have with me the very esteemed Tracy Mendonsa, City Council for Roseville. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing excellent. How you doing?
I am doing lovely. Can I just tell you some exciting news? One,
I love exciting news.
Now I said it, and I have real exciting news.
It better be good. Now that you've got the build up.
Real exciting news. I'm going to be a grandfather.
Wow.
It is happening. My daughter got married in December, and she called me up the other day, and she said, "Dad, you're about to be a granddad," and I am pumped.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Time for a minivan.
But that's exciting. But I also just surpassed 10,000 followers on TikTok. So if you're not following Matthew Oliver on TikTok, and you know how it happened? Can I tell you the secret formula, the secret sauce to my victory?
Victory.
There's a video of me with a little puppy, a little miniature puppy, and I'm just holding it. No words, no anything, just me with a dog. That's it.
Yeah, I need to do that. I have 2 dogs. I went to the SPCA to get a dog, and I came home with 2 dogs.
Oh,
yes,
you've got a problem.
10,000. I've got many problems, but the dogs aren't one of them.
If your next campaign, you just have you with like what kind of dogs do you have?
But one's a Shih Tzu and one's a Poodle. But if I have dogs, I'm going to isolate the cat owners.
Well, I don't know if you deal with a lot of Shih Tzu,
Shih Tzu?
so you get
My next T-shirt.
I deal with Shih Tzu. Elect me. Did you go to the Roseville SPCA
Yes.
to adopt?
Yes.
I got my dog from the Roseville SPCA.
They let you out with one.
I
feel like
I made it out.
I didn't say no.
I feel like we got to do a plug for them. By the way,
Yes.
the Roseville SPCA, that is amazing.
And they're doing a new addition. They're going to have their new on-site veterinarian hospital.
Are they really? It is. If you haven't gone, you got to go visit it. Their staff are knowledgeable. Their facility is brilliant. I love what
over
they're
there
doing.
is amazing. The staff's amazing. And there's a couple times a year where they do a replenish their shelves and they post it online. So if you are an animal lover, a dog, cat, they have rabbits and everything else over there. Take a moment to go to your favorite grocery store, box store, grab some cat food, some dog food, and drop it off because they really do need
They depend
those
on
supplies. Yeah, they depend on that.
All right. I've got to show you etiquette. You got to take this microphone, bring it in close. Get tender with that mic. Get intimate with it. You got to manhandle it.
My voice carries.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. That's what your wife told me about your voice. It's booming and manly. I love the SPCA because they give so much. They're so amazing. But there are days that I have where I am peopled out, and I just want to go by and see a dog or a cat or what have you. Are you a dog person or a cat person?
Both, more of a dog person. I haven't seen you walking your dog lately. I was posting there for a while.
Out today with my dog.
If it's not on Facebook, it didn't happen. So I didn't see it.
I will tomorrow. I'll make sure I post. They'll know when we record it because they'll be able to go back. Well, let's talk about things that are going on first in America, in California.
Oh, boy.
Our esteemed, I said you're esteemed, so I can't use that word. Our not so esteemed governor, who is finding ways to destroy the state. He's done a really good job, raised our gas prices going up, taxes. And they have this big argument. Taxes aren't going up 65 cents. Well, okay. Fees. We have fees and then taxes, which I guess fees are like taxes because we can't choose to pay them or not. So we're stuck. But gas is going up, which, by the way, he wants to blame the president for gas prices going up because of what's taking place in the Middle East, even though he's approved these tax hikes and these fee hikes.
But the price per barrel's down.
But the price per barrel is down.
I was actually going to address this with him on his podcast, but
when he has you on it next.
Yeah, but he's not doing it anymore. But you got me first. I don't have a talent agent, so I don't get the book, the really high profile stuff. So I'm here.
Is his podcast over?
I believe it's paused. I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Well, he is thinking about running for president. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh wow.
Newsom running for president. It was AOC be his VP?
Boy, Newsom for president would be interesting, you know. But Kamala, was vice president. We California does produce a lot of, people that launch pad into the, federal elected system and raised to the higher offices. So it's been a while. Look at Reagan. He was governor since Reagan. People speculated Schwarzenegger, but that didn't really pan out. So it's been a while since the Golden States had somebody from governor to run and be elected president. So
man, I'll tell you what, I was watching, I was looking at some clips the other day on TikTok, which you can follow me on. And they did, Schwarzenegger was on The View. And they asked him questions. They were baiting him, trying to get him to say something bad about what's happening with deportation and with ICE. And they said, what do you think as an immigrant? By the way, my wife is an immigrant. So these are really important questions. They said, as an immigrant, what do you feel? And he totally blew him out of the water. Whoopi had no idea what to do because he was like, as an immigrant, I love this country. And I think as an immigrant, we need to give back to this country. And he said, I owe this country so much. And if you're going to come here, you need to find a way to give back. And man, you should have seen their faces, their jaws hit the floor, their jowls were flopping.
Of all the people to ask that question to, it's kind of like know your audience. And Arnold doesn't really mince words anyway. And the fact that he doesn't hide the fact that he's an immigrant, right? He's very pro, how he came to this country. And he worked hard to get where he's at. So I kind of feel like if you didn't anticipate that answer, that's on you.
Yeah, you weren't prepped for it. So I'm not a fan of Newsom. Obviously, I know as a city council member, you got to work with the state level and you got to be nice. But let's talk about the governor of California, Kamala. What if she runs? What if she throws her hat in? How do you feel about this?
I think Kamala's got a good chance. You've got people like, Rob Bonta, you've got, Adam Schiff, you've got obviously your Maxine Waters, your Pelosi's. You've got a very hardcore base, that was already supportive and surrounded Kamala as a VP. They've worked with her, at the, congressional
Do you think they
level.
wanted to work with her though?
You got to remember as VP, there's, certain things that you are obligated to do. And then certain, I don't want to say committees, that's the wrong word, but responsibilities you have. So it's not like it's as forward facing as, the governor or speaker, a president or speaker of the House or things like that. I don't know if it's whether they did or didn't want to work with her. I feel like there was some familiarity because she was from California and you've got people from California. So, you kind of get that, okay, it's not a new relationship I have to build. And as VP, you're second in charge, right? So there's always going to be a little bit of that intimidation factor. It's not like you can all just hang out at the state level.
Yeah, and she does have big name recognition.
She does. She's got a following.
I'm going to tell you, I'm talking to some people within conservative groups that really hope she gets a nomination because they feel like California has gone more red than it's ever been. And if she were to run, there is a good chance, a better chance, that we could have a conservative Republican governor for the first time in forever. I think it's a long shot. Wishful thinking?
I think it's a strategy. And when you're running for office and you're in public office, strategy is important. However, I always look at things now that I'm elected through the lens of be careful what you ask for. Because you are in a state that's predominantly, Democrat, centric state.
Sure.
So you would have to do what Reagan did, and we weren't as much of a blue state when Reagan was governor as we are now. But you're talking about people in Los Angeles and Orange County and other pockets of California to completely abandon their Democrat views and vote for a conservative.
Yeah.
Like you have to dislike somebody a lot to change your voter preference. I get the strategy, but when Schwarzenegger ran, everyone thought that he didn't have a chance because he does tend to be more of a conservative. Some of his views are conservative, and then he also, splits the middle. He was very good, much like Joe Patterson, at working both sides of the aisle. He was very good at that, and I think a lot of that came because he's an actor and he's used to, the screen time and being able to play to people's, strengths and meet them where they're at. I don't know if voters are going to, I don't want to say commit, they're going to attach themselves to a Republican or a conservative just because they don't want to vote for Kamala.
I think what they're
I think
hoping,
the party will put somebody else in there and they'll try to split that vote.
I think what they're hoping is indifference. I think they're hoping people will just not vote. Like, but you know, it is it will be interesting to see what happens. But they're hoping for indifference. You know, it's Kamala,
Yeah.
as our president says, Kamala.
Kamala.
And she's
Struggles with
not,
the vowels.
Kamala. And she, you know, she, even though won the state of California, she did not get the votes they were hoping for. Maybe this goes in our favor. Well, to be seen.
You know,
She hasn't even thrown her
the
hat.
other side to that too is, I mean, you could look at it from a party perspective, but then you could also look at up and down the state. You know, we do have, you know, a very heavy female electorate, right? You've got Pelosi, you've got Waters, you know, you've got a lot of strong women, you know, that, you know, if you look at it from a gender perspective, which a lot of people aren't, you could look at it from a party perspective, you could look at it from leadership, you could look at it from, you know, platform. But, you know, as far as a woman governor in California, for as progressive as we are, I think people forget that that factors in too.
You know, you brought a perspective that I think maybe even had some weight. But, you know, the field of Democrats is massive. The field of Republicans, not so much at the moment. You have Steve Hilton has entered the race. You have the sheriff, Bianco?
Bianco, yes.
Yeah. And it seems like they're the two top contenders right now.
No,
Do you
there'll
have
be
an
a couple
opinion?
dozen, you know, that join in, you know, that.
See, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think the waters are going to get much murky. And I think if a Kamala enters the race, I think you'll even get some bigger name Republicans, possibly. You think, what are your chances Kevin Kiley enters?
I think Kevin stays where he's at. Kevin's doing what he needs to do where he's at. I think eventually that's something he'll consider, but I don't think it's going to be this time.
How do you feel Kevin's been doing for us? I mean, we got our cars back. We get to drive our cars. Choose the car you want to drive. Do you drive an electric or do you drive a gas guzzler?
You know, I drive a petroleum based vehicle. I wouldn't call it a gas guzzler.
I drive a gas guzzler.
Yes.
I love it, man.
I have a sports car, but I keep my foot out of it. And
Okay.
it's not for gas reasons, it's because I can't afford the speeding ticket.
Yeah, amen to that one. I get it. But so he's got us our cars. Now, I didn't look too far into it. Does that vote, does it also get us our lawnmowers back and our leaf blowers back?
So there was different legislation. So
Okay.
there was, you know, the vehicles by 2030, and that was part of the Green Initiative. You know, the other one was your gas lawnmowers, your gas leaf blowers, you know, your gas-powered pressure washers, things like that. You know, I haven't checked on that one, but I know they were two different ones. You know,
So we need Kevin to go to bat for
Yeah.
my lawnmower.
right.
Okay. All right. Let's help. Let's get him. These are important issues.
You know, I think Kevin's doing a good job. I work with Kevin, you know, a lot, you know, on city issues and with my day job. And I know a lot of people, you know, say that they can't find him.
Where's Kevin Kiley?
I have no problem finding him. In fact, last month I went with several other electeds throughout our region, and
You found him. You
found
went
him.
on a
He was
hunt.
working in D.C.
You mean he was where he was supposed to be?
Yeah, you know, shocking as it is,
He was doing his job?
Yeah, he was doing his job. You know,
Wow.
Checks and balances.
Do you know who's running against Kevin Kiley?
Jessica Morse. Is
Nope.
she running again?
Are you ready? Prepare yourself.
Matthew
Brace
Oliver?
yourself. Heidi Hall.
The other Heidi Hall. Yes. Not my Heidi Hall.
No, not
Yes.
our Heidi
Not
Hall.
our Heidi Hall.
In Roseville, who's part of a school board member, but a Heidi Hall from Nevada City.
Oh,
And
what a
is,
PR nightmare for Heidi Hall.
Well, what's weird is we decided we're going to help Kevin with his campaign. Heidi Hall endorses Kevin Kiley,
Oh, brother.
but we just get our Heidi Hall, you know, and then what are they going to do? They're in trouble.
You know, voters get inundated with so much mail. I kind of feel like that's gonna be
I would
horrible.
keep that one. That one would be great.
Yeah, you know, until it backfires.
Okay, let's talk about Roseville. I'm kind of partial to Roseville.
Well,
I
you
love
do have
Roseville.
two businesses here.
Technically 3 businesses.
Right, you have the fountains now.
And yeah,
yes,
now we have
I
the fountains.
apologize.
Yeah, nope.
When
okay,
I say
you got to stay up.
House of Oliver, I just, I kind of lump them
Got to
together.
stay up on all businesses Oliver related.
Right, yes.
And I'm going to tell you, we love the fountains, but I'm going to start. Can I brag first and then nail you with the
not
hard
like you.
stuff? I just want to brag about you.
No.
Brag about the city.
Please brag about the city.
I have done business in Lincoln, Loomis,
Yes.
Sacramento, Folsom, Roseville, Rockland, all of them. No one works more efficient, does a better job right now that we've experienced like Roseville does.
We have great people that work for us. I mean, a lot of people give credit to the electeds, and we do, have, some influence on that. But the men and women in our public utilities, our law enforcement, our, police and fire, I mean, those are the people that, keep the city running. They're the ones that, make sure the trees are maintained and the storm drains back up in bad storms, that, they are doing, all of the work. And I think every day when they show up, they keep in mind what a great community that we have. And they're proud to serve this community because that community loves them back as much as they love
Right.
them. I mean, we have police officers and firefighters that I've talked to and other, members, elected members have talked to. They come here from other, police departments, fire departments, either other utilities or other cities, and they can't believe how nice the people in Roseville are. We have police officers that come from other agencies and are like, I can't believe people actually wave at me. Like they actually come up and they are friendly to me.
Right.
And I mean, I think that speaks volumes to the community. Like you mentioned all the other places you've been, and those are all great
they're
communities.
great,
Yeah, they're
great
all great
communities.
But, it's very rare that, you see across the board just, high numbers of satisfaction, especially a city growing like we're growing.
It has been impressive. And I just got 2 words for you. You probably can read my mind and know what I'm going to say. Roseville Electric. Come on.
Affordable, dependable electricity.
Wow.
You haven't moved to Roseville. Why?
What?
Well, you're making too much money, so you can spend extra money for PG&E.
I tell you what, if I didn't have such a passion, see, here's the deal. If I moved to Roseville,
Tell me, what's the deal?
I got you. Let
Right.
me break
Preach.
this down for you. Can I?
Can you preach?
Listen to me here, my brother. If I moved to Roseville, it'd be so easy. Rockland, I have purpose in Rockland to help save Rockland from itself. And I don't know if you know this.
I don't know if Rockland feels the same way, but I'm
No,
glad you have that
Oh,
purpose.
man, I'll tell you what. Our votes in Rockland have been great. They've never been better. We have the best votes.
Bigly. Bigly.
It's been, we've done great in Rockland, but I do know this. The politicians in Rockland don't want an Oliver coming in because we're going to hold them accountable. What am I doing? I'm not even running for anything. We're going to hold them accountable. We're going to have transparency,
I
responsibility.
knew you were running for governor.
Yeah,
See, it was
it's
only-
coming
I
out.
knew it.
You know what the problem?
heard it here first.
Can I tell you the problem that I have, and then
Tell
you
me
tell
more
me
problems.
about
I don't
Roseville.
have enough.
You tell me about Roseville. In Rockland, so people always wonder how does a city pay for police, fire, its upgrades in the community? Tell me, Tracy.
That comes out of the general fund.
Where does the money for the general fund come?
Taxes.
Taxes on what?
Well, so we are, heavily invested in, retail and our auto mall. So the Galleria and the auto mall.
You mean sales tax money?
But, Rockland's diversified there. I mean, they've got an entire, row now where I remember 10 years ago, they didn't have, the Mercedes dealership, the Range Rover, the boats,
Yeah.
Tesla's out there now.
Yeah,
I mean,
very good.
So they are, looking at.
You have an auto mall. I love your sweetness. You have, I like you went, well, we have the auto mall. You also have the Galleria
We have
mall.
the Galleria.
You also have
one of
the
their top performing
fountains.
malls in their portfolio, by the way.
Yeah, and it's one of the top performing malls in the nation.
Yes, it is.
But in their portfolios, international. You also have, how many Costco's right now?
Two.
But Rockland has the only Arby's in Placer County. So, we
this
can't
is
take
where
that
I
from
come
them.
to. Rockland, and by the way, the last time I ran and lost, I know someone's going to comment on that, which is a gift. Rockland has the builders funded outrageous amounts of money to keep me from getting elected. Now, why would the builders not want me elected? Well, because the Rockland City Council has successfully rezoned all the commercial development land into housing, primarily high-density housing. Now, you know what this happens, Tracy. High-density housing means more people. More people mean need for more police and more fire. How are we paying for those police and fire? Well, we're not doing it in Rockland with our sales tax revenue because Rockland has 0 Costcos. They have managed to get rid of Costco has built in Roseville. They lost the one in Loomis, and they did such a good job by suing the city of Loomis over that Costco decided to just go one street further and open in Lincoln, but not giving Rockland. And it's not because Rockland doesn't have land and doesn't have people. Rockland is not business friendly. And because they're not business friendly, they don't have those sales tax revenue. And because they don't have the sales tax revenue, they're going to be coming up on an issue. And that issue is going to be that budget.
Well, I think the thing to remember with Rockland, much like, years ago with Auburn and even Lincoln, Roseville is the largest city in Placer County,
Yeah.
So our problems and how we develop, it's not apples to apples. So, I mean, to give Rockland credit, when they built Quarry Park,
Yeah, they are the only one with a ropes course that is losing money.
That was an investment that they made, that entire downtown area with the fire station,
beautiful.
the civic area on Midas there. I mean, that's I think
The amphitheater.
Yeah, I mean, and their population is, more than half of what Roseville is. So even if they had low density versus high density, even if they brought in, more retail, no matter how they looked at it and said, how do we, give a, boost into our, revenue stream? How do we, entice, people to come, spend their money and their time in Rockland? Now, you could look at it from, a tourism perspective. They're right on the border of Rockland, and then you get on the freeway, go up the hill towards, Colfax, Grass Valley, Auburn, all of that. They have hotels in Rockland. They have a few hotels there. So, I mean, you get, transit occupancy tax.
You are the cutest city council member ever to be so nice to them.
I think that,
you know what happens? I had this conversation. I had this in a debate. And it was talking about the ropes course that they were losing money on. Now, they might have addressed that now, but they had this the worst contract with their ropes course management. And they said, but it's okay because it's bringing like 1.5 million tourists into Rockland. Where do you think those tourists stay at, Mr. Roseville City Council member?
Well, I can tell you that, there's not enough hotels anywhere in all of the cities in Placer
Do you
County.
know how many we have right near that ropes course? You know where they go? They go right over to Roseville. They go right down the street to Roseville. You know where they eat? They eat right down the street where the fountains and the Galleria are. And part of it is, and you just saw it, we had Floor and Decor, huge tax revenue for Rockland, bringing in a lot. Guess what they did? They spent millions to move a block away into Roseville. And that's a problem that's got to be addressed. But Roseville has done it because you guys know we got to take care of our businesses because our businesses are important to the success of our community. And I applaud you in that. I thank you in that. But you guys do have some of your own battles right now.
Right. And I don't want anybody to think that Rockland's not doing what they're doing, because it's like I wasn't elected, to serve the residents of Rockland. So it's not for me to say.
No, I would say you're doing
whether
great.
They're doing. I think they're doing what's best for their residents, because again, it's the same issue that you run into in Auburn. Rockland is approaching that phase where they're running out of places to build. They're almost built out on their borders. So then you have to start looking at your available parcels, and is that going to be industrial? Is that going to be retail? Is that going to be mixed housing? So you have, and we struggle with that in Roseville. I mean, we're running out of industrial. So you look at what's the best use, and then like 5 years ago, we couldn't have predicted that we would have got Bosch in Roseville. We couldn't have predicted the demand for industrial. We were selling industrial off. I look at Rockland and I see opportunities in certain pockets where they're going to be better prepared, to serve some of the upcoming opportunities that Auburn, Lincoln, and Rockland might not.
Yeah.
So, and I look at where the Costco is. You've got traffic that come into the new Costco in Loomis, but you're basically driving into Rockland.
Yeah,
So
that Walmart, that Target benefit.
There is some overflow there, which I think, strategically, if they look at the numbers, they're probably benefiting from that without, I mean, they're losing the big tax dollars from that Costco. But, by and large, people are still coming into that area, so, and the gas
And
stations
what we
there
need to
and
do
stuff.
is woo. We need to woo businesses into Rockland, which I
Every
think
city needs to do
Roseville's
that.
done really good at wooing. I love to woo.
And our electric, helps with that.
Your electric helps. Your water, your sewage helps with that. Your garbage helps with that. I mean, Roseville's one of the unique.
We're full service
You guys
city.
do it all.
Yep.
Everyone else is bidding them out. You guys do it. But what would you say is some of the big obstacles you're tackling in Roseville that are kind of difficult battles?
Obstacles and battles, two different things. I think challenges, for Roseville is, we're still, continuing to provide, the necessary services on the west side.
Yeah.
So, there's still, grocery stores, gas stations, retail. One of the challenges we have is, we need more hotels. We've
Yeah.
got our new long fields that are opening up soon, our new soccer fields. We have all the softball tournaments that come through Maidu and Mahaney.
We just had people come to the fountains, to the House of Oliver at the fountains that were at a basketball tournament
Yep.
down at
And the Hardwood Palace in Rockland, and so,
yeah. It's true.
they have that we don't, so I look at, a challenge for us, like all the rest of the cities in Placer County, we need more hotels because as, like Auburn is the endurance capital, right? So they get all the runners, Rockland, they get, the Hardwood Palace, those tournaments, they get, the concerts at Quarry Park, we get, a lot of the tourism from the grounds and Mahaney and Maidu and all of that, Lincoln, they get overflow from the casino, they get, their things that come through there as far as, tourism and things like that. So all of us collectively bring different, things into the region, and then it spills out into the neighboring cities. But they all need to have places to stay. They need to have places to eat. They need to have places to go and do things. Because, we're talking about people kids from ages of 8 and 9 all the way into their, mid-teens. So, what's going to serve a 9-year-old is not going to serve, a 15-year-old. And that's the nice thing about the Galleria, right? It's the nice thing about the ropes courses. It's the nice thing about, the venue at Thunder Valley. It gives, parents and adults options. It gives kids and teenagers options. You have to strike that balance. And now that we have the movie theater at the Galleria, we've got round one.
It is my favorite movie theater.
Yeah. Now we've
so
lost
good.
so many of our theaters. That becomes another opportunity where as we draw in the tourism, as we draw in events, and we get an event center and the long fields, get open and on all of that, you're going to really, really start seeing that economic driver and all those tax dollars. We're all going to benefit from that. I mean, Roseville will probably benefit a little more than other cities because we just will, but it will spill out.
Because we're Roseville.
Because Roseville's awesome.
We're Roseville.
I mean, who wouldn't want to live in Roseville? Except you.
Well, so then fine, Mr. City Councilman, let me ask you the tough questions. The one that people I hear constantly, there are two big things. One, you've got this railroad, this rail yard.
Yes.
And you get a lot of transients and a lot of homeless. And you have the Gathering Inn is kind of hubbed in Roseville. Like they have a big space in Roseville that brings people in. I was just talking to a business guy the other day. He's in downtown Roseville. And he's like, they had for the 5th time this week or in the last couple of weeks, they've had homeless people and they are using the bathroom on his business property. And he's like, the Gathering Inn's right here. And it's creating all this issue. Is homelessness an issue that you guys have found in Roseville?
Homelessness is an issue, throughout the country.
Yeah.
We
and in the state of California.
Yeah, in the state of California. And I think that every city, every state, struggles with how best to do it. I mean, if you look at it step back and look at it from a state perspective, I mean, how many millions of dollars did the governor spend? Everything from tiny houses to, tent cities to, vouchers for, apartments and everything in between, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's no one size fits all. For us, our homeless population is very small compared to, cities like Sacramento, Los Angeles,
Sure.
things like that. So it's manageable. And what a lot of people don't realize is they tend to connect all these dots, so a homeless person is sleeping in front of a business, and then 2 blocks down the road is the Gathering Inn, and then you've got the railroad over here running, along the other side. So they piece it all together and they say, well, this must be all interrelated. Well, it's not like, Boxcar Willie, it's not like the old movies. We don't have transients jumping off boxcars, coming into Roseville. And we don't have them jumping onto boxcars to, ride the rails and see, the
Yeah.
countryside. Most of these people, they're housing, disadvantaged, they're homeless, whatever. They're getting services from the Gathering Inn, or they're in transitional housing. They're getting, whatever they need, to get off the streets and get a job, to get, money, whatever, wherever they might be in their homeless situation. But we have to be careful not to connect all these dots because they're not always related. Now, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, is there homeless people, sleeping in doorways and in parking lots and things? Yeah, sure. But at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's homeless people in the creek beds bedded down in hot July because, who the hell wants to be walking on the hot asphalt, when you've
Right.
got your whole life on your back in a shopping cart, right? So it's not that they're not here. It's just a lot of times they're not visible. And when they are visible, places like Roseville and other cities, we're so accustomed to not seeing it that when you see it, it stands out more.
Do you guys have a good strategy?
We do. I
that's
mean, we
addressing. I love the police. I love the police department in Roseville. Love the fire department in Roseville. They've been very important in my life. But do you guys have what kind of? And you don't have to give the whole thing. But
Yeah,
like,
we have a unit. We have a services unit. We have police officers that are embedded in that. We have Placer County Probation has an officer that's embedded in that, and we go and we meet these housing disadvantaged or homeless people, whatever label you want to put on them. We meet them where they're at. And there are a lot of people that we help, that we get into transitional housing. We get them hooked up with veterans benefits. We have the stand down. Placer every year. I mean, we do provide, a lot of opportunities, a lot of, assistance for the people that are looking to receive it. And they say the best time to reach, someone who's experiencing homelessness is within the first, 60, 90 days or so, because they're not, to the point where, they're in a different state of mind. We can get them back into an apartment through vouchers or transitional housing or whatever it is. But there's a segment of our homeless population, and it's not just Roseville, it's across the country. There's a segment that they don't want to be housed.
Yeah.
These are, the homeless people that, and these aren't, it's not because they're bad people. It's not that, the people who want to remain homeless or unhoused, those are the dangerous ones. No, these are just people that, for whatever their personal reason is, they want to be out there,
They like the
and be left
transient
alone.
lifestyle.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that every homeless person, is safe. I mean, there's always going to be one-off cases. I mean, there are people that aren't homeless that do dumb things every day.
Sure.
So, but by and large, I think we judge what we do as a city not on the people that we don't house, but the people that we help. We judge our successes.
Well, I will tell you, as somebody who's involved in the city and seen it, I feel like we're not just trying to throw people away. Mm-hmm. We're trying to impact and save lives and help the community. And I haven't seen a huge homeless issue in Roseville. I mean, there are those times, but the response isn't, let's just lock them up or let's just move them on. But when can we offer a hand up and do it? So,
well, you mentioned the police department, so just real quick on that. So, our police, they, I don't want to call them frequent flyers because that's the wrong term to use, but there are well-known homeless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And our police and the unit that handles working with the homeless population, they know all these people. They know them on a first name basis. You know, and they've provided help and services and assistance to them over the years. And that rapport has been built. And I think the reason that Roseville is so successful, in doing so well with our homeless population is because we're not aggressive with them. It's not adversarial every time. Like we see them, we treat them, even though they're homeless, we still treat them like humans.
Yeah.
We meet them where they're at. We provide the services that we need to. We provide assistance where appropriate. But it's not like, we're mean to them. We don't just start beating them up, throw them in the back of the car. I mean, and that's a stigma that, other parts of the country, they don't take that approach. They don't treat them human. And these homeless people, they're less likely to act out and to be, combative, with our law enforcement and with the, even the people from the Gathering Inn and others who are there to help them. They'll politely decline the services, but it's because, we treat them the way they want to be treated. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, respect.
So they know, and I'm sure that they're not proud of where they're at. Everyone ends up, where they're going to end up. But I think the fact that we don't dehumanize them goes a long way in just, they respect us, and there's boundaries. They know that, places they should and shouldn't be and what they should and shouldn't do. And we always have, a few bad actors that ruin it for the many. But by and large, because we afford them that respect, they tend to, not get, to the point where we have to escalate it.
Well, okay, so I have, I think about 3 questions left for you, and we got to have you back on because I think you have a lot of insight. You've done this, and it's clear. This is Oliver Unfiltered. I'm going to call stuff out, and it puts you in an odd seat because you get to work with people in Rockland and in government and in higher government, and your job is to continue to be able to be successful working with people.
That's
and I absolutely respect that and appreciate that. So the Gathering Inn, homeless people, how we connect with them. By the way, I'm a pastor. I care about reaching the homeless. I know. And it's a mandate. It's very important to me. And I have sat down over the years with members of the Gathering Inn, and I'm going to tell you, I've been blown away by their heart, by their compassion. Now I'm not talking with the bigwigs up top. I don't know the guys on top necessarily, but I've met with the people who are the face doing the work. And their goal, they're not making millions of dollars. Their goal is to care for those who are less fortunate. And they're doing very important work. How are you? What's the relationship like with the Gathering Inn in the city of Roseville, or with you in the Gathering Inn?
Yeah, the Gathering Inn's in Roseville. And I always tell people this. It's like if the Gathering Inn didn't provide the services that they provide, we would have to, offset that, in our budget.
Somehow.
Yeah, somehow. Which, we have a balanced budget. It's close to $1 billion budget. We just finished it last week at the council meeting. We're very proud of the budget. It's balanced. It's a very well thought, best budget ever. And big.
There's big budgets, but they've never had a bigger budget.
Beautiful budget.
It's beautiful. I tell you.
Yeah.
I saw that budget and I was like, this is a big budget. I don't know. I'm the worst.
I think Trump
Keep going.
would be very
happy
with our budget. Yeah. But anyway, so we would have to absorb that.
In
somehow.
every interview I've ever done, we've never done Trump impressions. I blame all of this. I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah, this is the unfiltered part. This is why you can't be left to your own
I
devices.
know, my own devices. You'll never know. There'll never be a bigger budget.
Side business for you, doing telephone answering machine
I'm
recordings.
the worst. It's not even good. Yeah. Okay, keep going. So you have this big, beautiful budget.
We would have to supplement the services that they do, and if we did that, it would probably be employees that are benefited, which is a cost. We'd have to contribute to their PERS, and it would inflate, not just the services, but the people who do the services and the vehicles and the items that we would need, and whatever it is. So we're thankful that the Gathering Inn is there because, it's just like the city isn't in the real estate market. You know, we don't just buy property to hold on to it and sell it off. I mean, there are things that we do and that cities do that they're supposed to do that we're good at. We provide services, we provide, you know, safe communities, you know, whatever it is. We're not in the business of homelessness. We're not in the business of running, you know, shelters or, you know,
well, I'm going to tell
respite
you,
centers or whatever.
I've been told, though, that this homeless business is very lucrative and they are buying properties and someone's making some money from the federal government. Recently, though, some people called for an audit of the Gathering Inn and it got declined. Like, no audit's going to happen. Would you, you know, be someone who's supportive of an audit of what's going on with the funds in the Gathering Inn?
You know, if I was brought information and, you know, it was presented to me where it's like, hey, this looks a little fishy. I mean, we don't supplement the Gathering Inn. It's not like it's a
So the
sideline.
city of Roseville doesn't supplement.
No, well, we provide some grant assist. They just got some grant money, and you know, we provide assistance through, you know, other areas like our police, and you know, we will assist, you know, things like that. But we're not supplementing that. So it's not like, you know, they're here, you know, and we're paying all their bills. You know, we're paying, you know, for the building.
Placer County is paying them quite a bit of money.
Well, that's Placer County.
Yeah. So would you think Placer County? I mean,
I don't know about their books.
But like, should we ever be afraid of an audit? Is an audit a bad thing? Is
an
that
audit's
just
never a
level of
bad thing.
Accountability.
But my issue with an audit is, you know, is it an audit because you want to know the truth, because you want to get down to an issue, or is an audit a scare tactic? You know, if I came into your business and I necessarily didn't like you or didn't like what you stood for or liked, you know, whatever it was, you know, and you know, I said, you know, well, let's just, you know, audit your books and make sure you're paying your fair share of taxes.
Is it a fishing expedition where you're just trying to find something? Well,
if you're trying to correct a record, and I think no one's above an audit. I think that it's inappropriate, especially when you're accepting, you know, government dollars and you're a nonprofit and you're accepting donations as a nonprofit. I think that that's totally appropriate. But if you're using it, you know, as a strong arming tool to just, you know.
See, you've seen these things happen, and you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of how an audit's been used. So let me ask you this question: the Gathering Inn was going to put a big, beautiful space in Roseville. A big, what were they calling it?
You mean the shelter?
Yeah, the big shelter. It was going to be.
I know what you're talking about. I forgot.
It's going to be out there, West Roseville. They were going to put it in this big, beautiful space, and Roseville said, "No, thank you." You guys said, "Nope, that's not going to work for us." What do you think the thought?
It's not that it wasn't going to work for us. It wasn't going to work for the region. So, you know, it bordered up against Rockland, first of all. Second of all, the area they were looking at was remote. You know, which was fine because they were going to provide the services on site, and you know, it was really well thought out. It was really planned. It was great as far as shelters go. But A, we weren't at a spot where we needed a shelter that big, and B, you know, there was, you know, a lot of concerns from residents about, you know, what that would look like long term. You know, 5, 10, you know, years or longer. You know,
schools, parks,
what does
community.
What does that look like, right?
So that's a segue into what do you think about what's going on in Lincoln? You know, I've had Amanda, Lincoln City Council member, Loomis City Council member. I've had Richard Pearl, Lincoln City Council member. We've kind of talking about this. You know, they've gone into Rockland and just bought houses without letting Rockland know. Bought houses and then put rehab centers right there, or second stage centers there, in houses, in neighborhoods, next to schools, next to stuff. And it makes people kind of, I don't know about this. So in Lincoln, they bought this huge facility that they're saying is like a medical treatment facility.
A respite facility or something.
Yeah. And you can see the park. The park's right there. It's got schools, right? Like a block away. And they didn't talk to the city at all. As a city council member, is there like an unspoken honor, like code of conduct that should be, you know, respect? I don't know.
Well, it's interesting. I don't think any city likes to not be, you know, told what they're not told, likes to be included, in things like that, right? But I'm familiar with what you're talking about, and I look at it in Roseville, for instance. If they were going to put a respite center in Roseville, difference between Lincoln and building it somewhere else is that was an existing building.
Yeah.
So like in Rockland or Roseville or Auburn or any other city, that would usually go through a permitting process. There'd be a design review. They'd review the plans. There'd be a traffic study. There'd be, public input.
Huge.
Through, like hearings, huge, right? So in this particular case, and I don't know all the details, so I don't want to speak too much about it because I really don't know. This was an existing building, from what I understand.
Yeah, but
so
you
there
guys
wasn't any
allowed
of that.
like a turnkey, project turnkey in a hotel in Roseville that went through.
The old Hampton Inn.
But it went through massive amounts of conversations and they could. It wasn't like, hey, we bought the building, we're going to do it.
Right.
They still needed you guys on board.
Yeah, that's the thing in Roseville. We're very transparent, and we're very upfront about, we want our residents to know what's going on, and we want to know what's going on. And not because, we're nosy or we want to like shut you down. It's because, we as a city and as a municipality, we can help you get things done. If you're out there doing it on your own, it's going to take you longer. It's going to be harder if you've ever done this before. We have, a list of all the permits. We have a list of all the fees.
Right.
We have a list of, so why not let us, help you, show us your vision.
Help me help you.
Right. So in Lincoln,
So do you take it? Yeah, the Lincoln City Council suing to
Right.
stop this. Can you really blame them? I mean, in my mindset, again, I love there are people who work with the Gathering Inn. They have the heartbeat to help the homeless and those hurting, and I'm all about that. A respite center right next to parks and school, because what this guy in Roseville, I said, so you're seeing the Gathering Inn there. Why are the homeless sleeping in your front porch? He goes, well, the Gathering Inn, they don't allow those who are on drugs or alcohol. So you got to get sober, get clean.
Right.
Well, if they don't want to, they show up, they get turned away. Now they sleep on my porch. In Lincoln, that's their fear, I think, is that, hey, they're going to show up, they're going to get turned away. Now they're next to parks, schools, they're in, places. And these are the people who didn't get accepted. Can you blame the city for saying, hey, we don't want this right there?
I don't blame the city, but again, I don't have all the details. I think what needs to happen is
An audit.
I'm not. Yeah,
A big, beautiful audit.
I'm not. As far as respite centers go, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert
Sure,
on shelters
sure.
either. But when I looked it up, when I heard respite center, I'm like, okay. My understanding of it is a respite center is not a shelter. So it's supposed, by definition, and again, just by definition, I just Googled it. By definition, this is a place where people experiencing homelessness were at, Kaiser or Sutter or Adventist Health or whatever, and they had a surgery or they had to have, a knee replacement, whatever it was, right? And they need a place to heal. They have exceeded the allotments of being able to stay in the hospital, in that hospital room.
Yep.
And they know that by turning them back on the streets, these people aren't going to be able to keep their dressings clean,
Nope,
aren't going to
nope,
be able to,
I mean, it's a need.
Right. Yeah.
It's a need.
So they're looking at it from the perspective the hospitals are. It's like we can put them into a respite center to finish out their recovery, and the likelihood of them coming back and costing more money because it didn't get, treated properly.
Yep.
So
I don't
the
think
whole
anybody's
sleeping
anti
outside.
that.
Yeah.
It's-
I don't know if they'd be sleeping outside.
But where
is
do
my
they
point.
go from there?
That's a
First
good
off?
question.
And then two, and you know how this goes. You get my foot in the door. I started as a respite center. Next thing you know, we've got this program operating out of here and this program operating out of here. And I think it's worth the city being able to go, listen, we want to be part of the conversation. We want to be part of the involvement here. We want to put some parameters. And, the bigger head honchos at the Gathering Inn, their big job is, hey, we just need to have a spot to do it. Kind of. And some of these guys, they've got some quotes out there that are a little scary to me. Some of the bigger guys in the program where they're like, hey, we just need to get this federal money. And I know there are people down here who have good hearts that want to get it done, but somebody's making some cash.
Probably. And I think the bigger issue in Lincoln is it's not the homeless, I think where they're going to sleep, where are they going to go when they're released? I mean, that's obviously a concern for any city, right? Because, I mean, you start applying resources to things. I think the city, if you really want to get down to it, and again, I don't want to I don't want to speak for the city in any means, but I'm thinking if it was Roseville, and we were in the same spot Lincoln's in, I think it would be more of we're just still upset that we weren't included in the conversation. I think that if you take that piece, and you get that addressed, and I don't know how you fix that at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, litigation has ensued.
Yep.
You've got, people who have, taken a stand, and there are people who are dying on that hill on either side. So I think that until you take the temperature down and you address that problem, all these other things are just escalators. So it's like if there's this, and then it's like, well, oh my God, all these other things. It's like, well, if you address this, then maybe there's a dialogue that fixes this. But until you fix this, it's never going to be, you're never going to get to a spot where anybody can move forward.
So it's created a line in the sand. You've got somebody, and I'm not going to ask you to make any bold statements unless you want to. You've got Shanti Landon, who's caught in a sticky wicket. Who had evidently some back rooms, smoke-filled rooms, dark corners, those secret alleyway conversations.
Very black and white movie-ish.
I don't know. Film noir. Some conversations with the Gathering Inn where, man, when you start pulling this back, so her former Placer County Board of Supervisor that she worked for, Robert Wygant, is on the board of the Gathering Inn, who owns land that evidently in Lincoln that they're looking at doing stuff with. Now, Shanti had these meetings with the Gathering Inn that her boss, that she's very much still connected with, is now on a board member of, and evidently fed her some info, blah, blah, blah. But she did not talk to the city, though she had inside information. Now, Shanti running re-election, but now Holly Andreatta, the mayor of Lincoln, who's kind of rode in on this white horse and is fierce. I'll tell you, she is fierce. And these two ladies are running, both Republicans on paper.
Okay.
Both have received the Republican Central Committee endorsements in the past. Now they're running against each other, mano y mano, or I don't know what the female of that is, but womany. Mano. Whatever. They're going against each other. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. So it's.
And again, you're not required.
They're in a unique situation, right? So you have Shanti, who's the incumbent.
She is an incumbent
who has served Lincoln, and that's that pocket of Roseville that is in that district. And you have Holly, who's the sitting mayor. So you have two people that, are obligated, to serve the constituents of Lincoln, right? So as an incumbent, Shanti, has to toe that line, with the Gathering Inn, I don't know.
Think she should have talked to the city?
I don't know if there was an NDA. I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what was in place that may have prompted her to make a decision. So I don't want to speak because there might be something that was legitimate, right?
Totally.
So she got pulled into that as the supervisor, and how I don't know all the details, but she obviously was involved in that. But then you have Holly as a council member, and now the mayor, and so she has to look at it from the perspective of this is going into my city.
Yeah.
So you've got the county and you've got the city, who are kind of meeting in the middle, and they share this problem, or that they perceive as a problem. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll take Holly. Shanti and Holly are both very good friends. I've known them both for years, and they're great people in their own right. But I think that, if I look at this from two candidates running for this supervisor seat, Holly has the bigger lift here. And the reason is that she has to wear that mayoral hat of Lincoln when she's mayor, where she is. But then she has to take that hat off, and when she runs for supervisor, she has to remember that it's Lincoln and Roseville,
and maybe even a little bit of Loomis,
right?
A little bit.
So
like
you have to pull in that Roseville part, and I think what's happening is Shanti and Holly are so passionate about what's happening with this respite center that it's becoming a single issue in both their
very
campaigns.
Much, very much.
And so I think that at
So
some
are you
point,
afraid that maybe a third candidate jumps in there and rallies, whoops it up, and
I'm not afraid. I think that, I would never tell anybody. I had a campaign manager the first time I ran, and he instilled this in me, and I still remember it to this day. You should never tell someone they can't run for office.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that,
I have a lot of people who've told me.
well, you don't listen to anybody.
I do. Have you met my wife?
Have you met your wife? Yeah.
I listen. I do listen.
Not going to go there.
Yeah, please,
yeah.
please.
But I think that, if someone else was to get into the race, I think that all that does is create more opportunity for dialogue. Because what's going to happen is you've got this Roseville part over here, and what's happening is all the air in the room is being sucked out because of what's happening at the respite center.
Yep.
And there's so many great things going on that part of the district in Roseville.
Things worth talking about.
We've got, new parks, we've got new homes, we've got new retail, we've got all these things. And those people in that part of Roseville, that are going to be voting for either Holly or Shanti or whoever else, jumps in the race, they want to know that their concerns, are, also, being considered. Because what's happening is, Holly's the mayor, and her obligation is to serve her constituents in Lincoln. And she does a great job. She's been on council for many years. She is awesome serving the needs of her people. Like I've never seen somebody more passionate about serving.
I'll tell you, when I was in Lincoln, she was awesome.
Yeah, she is amazing, and she will sit down and she will talk with you. I mean, the woman has a servant's heart.
Yep.
Right. And then I look at Shanti, when she ran last time, and she was out there and she was hitting the pavement, and she had an opponent. And she worked, and she made
was
sure
a hard worker.
She was a hard worker, and she put in the time. So I look at both of them, and I don't worry about either one of them, putting in the time. I don't worry about either one of them, making their constituents a priority. What I worry about is, being too focused on one part of that district. And the other problem that, Shanti and Holly have is they pull in this other part outside of Lincoln. You look at, Suzanne Jones and Bonnie Gore, they both serve Roseville, but it's all Roseville.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about those borders, right? I mean, even,
Suzanne Jones has a little bit of a Granite Bay that pulls in there, but
Right.
Cindy or
the majority of Roseville, and Cindy
yeah.
Gustafson, she goes up north, towards Tahoe.
Yeah.
So I mean, the way
they
that
are a lot more focused where
they
gotta
don't
be
have
able
to toe that line, right? So it makes it very difficult for anybody, not just Shanti and Holly, anybody who's going to run for that seat, because you have to make two people from two very distinctly different cities feel, valued.
Yeah, equally valued.
Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. What I've done is I've just invited them both on. Not together. I don't need to see a cage.
Like a boxing
cage
match?
Yeah, I don't need to see that, but I've invited them on. Like, can we just talk about these issues, what you just talked about? Can we just get to the nitty-gritty and just have a conversation? And as you can tell, there's no gotcha questions. I
Right.
just want to know what's happening. Holly has said, yes, let's go. Let's talk about it, because I've got some other questions for her. I think these ones right here, what's going on in Roseville. By the way, can I do a quick shout out? What's happening in Roseville? Old Town Pizza is doing such an awesome renovation of the old
Post office.
Mm-hmm. Downtown. I cannot wait.
Reese is doing an amazing job there.
What
Amazing.
a brilliant business guy. What a great mind and a sweetheart.
Reese is a smart business owner. His spot in Auburn with the rooftop dining, the one in Roseville that I've seen the plans, it's going to be better than that one.
I sit down with Reese, and I'm like gleaning, learning every time.
I
he
learned
talks.
so much from him.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I've sat down with him, I want to absorb it like a sponge. I mean, he is a savvy business owner, but
he's also not. I mean, he's such a sweet guy.
his staff loves him. I mean,
Yeah.
his entire staff is
Yeah.
like one big family.
They are.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And when you see
think I'm gonna go
businesses
work
like
for him.
that, I've thought about it. But I'd be 200 pounds.
Yeah, well, yeah. We're not talking about. So I've invited him on. Holly has said yes. Shanti, she says no. She doesn't want to answer the questions. And it to me, it's like that audit thing. We're not going after a gotcha. There is an issue here.
And that's
People
what makes
want
me
to
think,
know.
and none of us would know this, right? I mean, that's what makes me think with Shanti, and I love Shanti, but there must be something more that's preventing her, like a non-disclosure agreement or something about where the state, provided the money for that facility.
Yeah.
There must be something, because I know Shanti well enough where, I've been in meetings with her where she does not back down. I mean, the woman will go, toe to toe with anybody. So that's what makes me kind of wonder if there's something else there that's preventing her.
I think you're right. But you know what I'm finding is people don't want electeds who've been bought. And even in Rockland, I've continued to get so much support as a candidate because they've seen these electeds, these city council members who've been bought by builders. They see we
have
governor.
term limits. We don't have that problem.
You guys are great. They see a governor who's been bought by PG&E. They see national politicians who've been bought by special interest groups. They don't want it. And even when there's good value, like the Gathering Inn has such an important mandate, what they don't want is it controlling. And right now in Placer County, they own the market on homelessness, and it's a lucrative market for them.
Well, the thing about the Gathering Inn too is you have to remember is they contribute into the communities they're in, right?
Yeah.
So they had a temporary intake center in Elk Grove, several months ago. It was in the old Rite Aid, and they are branching out into other areas, and they're doing that because that's their wheelhouse, homelessness, right? It's like, if you know what you're doing and you know there's a population that needs to be served, you go and serve those people.
Yep.
So it's smart business for them, to invest and get in front of the people that they're going to have to work with.
Yep.
Now, do I think they're buying and selling politicians? No. I think that electric companies, and other, large corporations, when you get into the assembly and, Senate and presidential ones, yeah. I mean, those are, 50, $100,000, $250,000, checks. When you look at campaigns like mine and, Lincoln, Auburn, Rockland, I mean, they're small amounts.
Yeah.
The amount of money that you would have to funnel to meet the threshold of buying a candidate, I mean, you would have to get, a line of people. And even then, it doesn't take hundreds of thousands of dollars in this county to run, to win an election.
I mean, they spent over $100,000 on my campaign to keep me from winning. That's how Oliver Unfiltered scares some people. But okay, let's talk. Yeah, over $100,000 to keep me out. That was just the last one. The one before that, it was well over $150K that they spent against me. I mean, I draw the high dollar candidates.
See, Roseville. That's why Rockland, is so much better, because we don't draw that kind of money.
Okay, the tough thing, and you don't have to answer.
Okay,
but this is your last term.
Hmm.
What do we do? What are we going to do? President, governor? Where are we going? Come on.
I don't know. I have lunch with Kamala next week. And we're gonna talk about my future plans.
I heard there's spots open at the Gathering Inn. Maybe.
Yeah. There's a.
Yeah. Don't answer that. Yeah. Any thoughts? You still love serving your community, serving the people?
So I just started my second term in December of 2024. So I'm in my last term. I've thought about it. So I'm termed out in 28.
So you got time.
I like what I do. I got into politics, coming out of boards and commissions and, serving my community. So whatever I decide to do next, it's going to be something where I can be impactful.
Yeah.
I've thought about, do I, continue somewhere in politics, or do I, look more towards, getting more involved with nonprofits, getting on, certain boards. I'm a huge, supporter of the SPCA. I'd love to, be on their board. I've expressed, interest.
You like puppies.
Yeah,
I know.
But my mother, I lost her to breast cancer, and I lost my grandmothers. I have two daughters. So breast cancer and breast cancer research is something that's near and dear to my heart. So getting more involved with breast cancer foundations and things locally. So I haven't really decided, but whatever I do, it's going to be where I can make the most impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I've appreciated you here in Roseville. I appreciated your leadership. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate, for me as a business owner out here, you've done such a great job. I will say thank you for taking the time, jumping on this. And listen, you made it to the end. I'm so proud of you. So take a moment, like it, share it, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell an enemy, because you know how much that they would just want to see this beautiful face. Oliver Unfiltered will be continuing to bring you insight and information, but let's continue to make Placer County awesome.